Thank you for viewing this YouTube archive of a Conscious Consumer Network broadcast. Please feel free to share it far and wide. Check out our weekly broadcast guide for weekly updates on scheduled broadcasts. Help keep us on the air by contributing to our network support fund. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter or get in touch via email. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
This is For the Love of Learning, Voices of the Alternative Education Movement. Be inspired by the voices of visionaries, changemakers, and ordinary, extraordinary people who do what they do all for the love of learning.
This is For the Love of Learning, Voices of the Alternative Education Movement. I'm Lady Liberty, and this is episode number 59. In tonight's episode, we'll explore the movement known as Ecoversities. What are Ecoversities? Ecoversities are a diverse network that both critiques existing education systems that are broken and cultivates new practices to regenerate ecological and cultural ecosystems. This is a movement slowly building all over the world. They are self-described as a network of ecoversities, people, organizations, and communities who are reclaiming their knowledge, systems, and cultural imaginations to restore and re-envision the learning processes that are meaningful and relevant to the needs of their times. What does this mean in practice? With the focus on transforming learning into a process of a group of like-minded educators, activists, artists, cultural collaborators, and walkouts come together for a 6-day unconference in Portugal earlier this year to answer that question. The Ecoversities gathering kicked off through a series of self-organized workshops, sessions, and collaborations which avoided reproducing a typical academic gathering. According to one participant, quote, "What happened in these spaces wasn't always easy or comfortable, since learning often comes through ruptures or being faced with the unknown and unfamiliar. But it was definitely transformative by enlivening our ways of thinking, feeling, and relating," quote. Tonight we speak with a wonderful and inspiring panel of these collaborators and visionaries. Together, we will examine what ecoversities are and how ecoversities can touch all of our lives. Instead of introducing each of our panelists individually, I will ask them to briefly introduce themselves, sharing a little bit about their backgrounds and their involvement with the Ecoversities movement. But first, I want to remind our audience that you can access more information about each of our panelists on the show notes page located at consciousconsumernetwork.tv, and look for the show notes page for episode number 59. There you will find more extensive information about each of our panelists' backgrounds and links to their projects and websites. So let's jump right in, and I'm going to hand the floor over to our distinguished panel.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm going to give a little introduction. We'll just say our names maybe. My name is Victoria. I'm coming from the University of the Environment in Mexico. Just say your names.
Yeah, I'm Manish. I am from Swaraj University in Udaipur, Rajasthan, India.
I'm Genaro Vasquez. I'm from Ayuc region, Oaxaca, Mexico. And I am a small farmer, an ecologist, and educator.
I'm Traian Bruma from Romania, co-founder of the Alternative University.
Hi, I'm Udi. I'm at Earth University, but also I was on the show before with the Enlivened Learning project and initiative.
So we're now together in Mexico because we organized a symposium of educators involved in alternative education and sustainability. And we're doing a learning journey at this point. So we've been 7 hours on the road and we're in the middle of the mountains in central Mexico in a little town, sitting in a courtyard in a house where they have internet. Well, and they're playing basketball outside and there's birds flying around us. So this is our setting.
So if the connection goes,
yeah, hopefully it won't.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Okay, so the name of the town is San Miguel Yahuitlalpan. This is a famous town for the pots they make here. And that's it.
Well, so since in the introduction we talked about Ecoversities, and I know that you're coming together as collaborators focused on solving these big issues. Why don't we start there with Ecoversities and then how that looks as a team to really tackle some of these big issues?
So the Ecoversities was a meeting we had last year. It was a call that we put out to a number of innovative initiatives in different parts of the world that are rethinking higher education from a range of different perspectives, whether it's social movements, ecological movements, indigenous knowledge, or people reconnecting with social or ecological entrepreneurship or regeneration. So the first meeting we had was last year in Portugal, and we had another meeting which was kind of emerging also organically through different kinds of connections. This year in Mexico, that was organized by UMA, by Victoria and others. In a place a couple of hours from Mexico City. So the thing with all of these initiatives is that they all are tackling the various problems as they manifested wherever they are too. So Manish in Swaraj can talk a bit more about what he's been engaging with, and Victoria and Gerardo and Traian can all maybe say a little bit about what specifically their university, their movement, their learning place is particularly engaging with.
So I can say something about Swaraj University, and I think it's one thing is quite common as I think we're meeting a lot of these different projects around the world, though there's a lot of diversity, but I think one thing is very strong effort to reclaim the autonomy of the learner and give power back to the learner, and really honor each person that is in the journey. And so to move beyond this thing of seeing learners as numbers or as labels or as even consumers of knowledge, to actually seeing them as active co-creators and partners in creating their own journey. So Swaraj is very much focused on self-designed learning, and we call the learners Kojis, which means seekers. So each person, we believe, has a special search within them, and actually the process of higher education should really be to help them understand that search and deepen it and manifest. Two things I would just say that we are particularly really exploring very deeply. So one is the idea of unlearning. So a lot of the conditioning that comes with the culture of schooling, and it could be all kinds of fears, all kinds of stereotypes, all kinds of, violence that has been inflicted on us in various ways and influences how we perceive ourselves or each other or the natural world. So unlearning is a big area that we are exploring with. And the other area we are quite interested is in the what we call the gift culture. So how do we really build new kinds of relationships of trust, of care, of abundance, and of community, really. And so a big piece we try to also explore is community living as part of the program. And each person then designs their own journey in the middle of all of this and works on different projects, what we call a livelihood projects, that of what they want to co-create in the world with us and with other friends out there. So that gives you a little bit of what we're doing. And I think what you'll hear is we'll ask everyone to maybe just share a little, because what's so amazing to me in this is like the creative brilliance of each place and how diverse, and each project that we hear about is like really super inspiring, and also like an awesome mirror to help us look at ourselves more deeply, see our blind spots, see lots of new learning edges and things like that. So I think just getting a taste of everyone's will be really give you a feel for what the network is actually emerging slowly is all about. So do you want to?
Sure. So I am co-founder of the University of the Environment, Universidad del Medio Ambiente. This is a university in Mexico, in a town called Valle de Bravo, which is around 2 hours away from Mexico City. And we have 7 master's degrees. And the university is young. We started our programs in 2009. And we are also exploring the autonomous path. And what I could add is that, and it's something that we also have in common, is that for us it's very important that education is project-based and is around action learning, so that education is useful and pertinent and relevant and significant for the learner, and not that it's abstract and conceptual and then not always useful. So the usefulness and pertinence is really, from my point of view, the core of the autonomy. So it's the learner that has to bring out the relevance, the pertinence, and in UMA, or the University of the Environment, we do that through inviting the learners to develop a project, and then the whole master degree follows the project that the learners are developing. And another important part of our model is that, so one part is a project, but another part is the work on yourself as a change maker or as a project designer. It's really hard to be dreaming about changing the world a lot or a little bit, or whatever is possible. Personally, it takes a lot of abilities, and it's never done alone. So there's a lot of work that has to be done around developing personal abilities, about observation, of really knowing what you want to do, what you can do, and what is useful for you to do in the context where you are, and also abilities in terms of working with others and of knitting with the desires and possibilities of others. So the idea that in a university you get sort of those two spheres, the sphere of doing projects and getting tools and concepts around professional work, so as to put it in a way, but also in terms of personal development is something that wasn't really done in traditional spheres, and it was very weird that it wasn't, because what is the use of knowing a lot of things if you don't have the personal clarity of what you want to do? So, well, that's one area that's I think we're all sharing also. And the dog is very happy with this idea.
Brian, share that some.
Guys, can you hear me? Okay. So our university is called Alternative University. It's in Bucharest. We grew out of the student movement. When I was a student in electrical engineering, I was very frustrated that I had no say in my education. And we tried, together with our other students, we formed organizations and we tried to change universities as students from inside. And we did that for 5 years. After 5 years, we decided that we were going to build our own university. It took us 8 years to do that, and we're still working on it. There are two basic things about Alternative University. One of them is students are responsible and they take ownership of their own education. So there are no certificates, no path imposed on them. They just choose their own path, and we are a rich environment of resources to nurture their path. And the second thing I think is very important, we live in a time that we need to change the bigger systems of the planet. And if young people do not experience how it is to create their own systems and to take ownership of those systems, I think it's very hard when you get into the outer world to take on the big system. So we try to involve the students in self-organizing their university as a group. And we believe in this idea that universities should be owned by students, students should be hosts of the university, and everybody else should be a guest there. So we try to make this happen in Romania. Okay.
Okay, I'm working now in Instituto Superior Intercultural AIUC, which is a small project, but a big dream. We started 10 years ago designing and thinking about some intercultural university, and we played with some government roles, but the intention is to find the best strategy to create autonomy in our region. And we took some concepts in our language. For example, for us, the learning is Wechenkachen, which is different with the normal or conventional concept. Lineal concept is for us, it's like a spiral concept, and thinking together in the community, and just we took some concepts, some original concepts, like Kah is in relationship with the Mother Earth, and thinking how can we do to change the reality, to impact in our younger people, taking the wisdom from the grandfathers, which not is easy because we have a lot of bad history, and the challenge is in the short term and the long term. But with my friends, they are from the same region, we use the language like a tool, like a medium, and like a goal. But we have many potential from the environment, from the knowledge, and just the intention is to create again together a big wisdom. That is the intention with the younger guys.
Yes, talk about Earth.
Okay. So I'll say a little bit. I'm involved in two places. One, my wife Kelly Teamy was on the show a few months ago, talked about Enliven Learning more, I think. So I won't speak too much about Enliven Learning, but Enliven Learning has had an important role in also catalyzing bringing together a number of these initiatives, and we've been making films and telling stories about various places around the world that are doing really exciting things in higher education. But I'm also working at a place called Earth University. It's a very exciting agroecology university based in Costa Rica, in a very forested tropical area. And it has students from all over the world, mainly from Latin America and from Africa, from very rural areas as well as other regions. But the role of Earth and the purpose is really to teach around ecological and agricultural matters, and also around social and ecological entrepreneurship, and to have this sense of how do you really connect with the qualities of leadership for young people to go back to their various communities, wherever they are, to create regenerative projects, entrepreneurial projects that have a real impact wherever they are. So these are the kinds of subjects, the kind of things that we're trying to work with students who have, very, very exciting ideas about things that they want to do when they go back to various places around the world.
Wonderful project. And it really inspires me to hear that all these different people have a very common theme. So that the theme is the ecological learning as part of the curriculum, but also the inner learning, as each one of you had mentioned, as the core of either being self-directed or self-directed with direction of developing your own inner skills and inner guidance systems and social responsibilities to the world. So from my understanding is Ecoversities is the thing that ties all of these very diverse projects together. So I do understand that you just came out of a meeting and you wanted to share with us what's moving forward for those that are involved in Ecoversities. And again, these are all autonomous projects or universities around the world that are connected through this common goal. So go ahead and share with us what you're meeting, what you just uncovered.
So let me just, before we share something about the meeting, I also wanted to share a little bit of, besides for Raj, I think a lot of the listeners on the show would be interested that a lot of our work has been with families interested in homeschooling, unschooling, and world schooling. And so part of the impetus for building this Ecoversities network is to show that there are many, many options for people who want to take that path. And as the children get older and are looking for, okay, how do we want to explore higher education? How do we want to be in different communities? How do we want to connect and get support for, manifesting more projects that we want to do in the world and explorations with other diverse kinds of people? So what we're envisioning is this whole network will give a lot of opportunities and possibilities for people to move around, young people to move around, and be able to avail of lots of amazing things and not feel like, okay, we have to go back into the mainstream university system if we want to have that kind of thing. So that's part of and I have a 14-year-old daughter who's unschooling also. Her name's Kanku. So I am like so excited to see so many projects that are happening where she can go in the future and spend time with very dear friends and colleagues. So.
Maybe just one thing before maybe other people want to share things from the meeting to say about the name Ecoversities. This was a name that we don't want to give the impression that it's just about ecology or ecosystems or the natural world. Because if you look at the origins of eco means home. It's also the origin of economics. So eco is also about what kind of relationships do we want to nurture in our home, right? Between people, between how we take care of our economy, how we take care within our communities, how we relate to each other. So it's a broader issues to just the environment. It involves also issues around social justice, around poverty, around inequality. And so many of the initiatives that have a part of this network are also involved with these kinds of very grassroots movements, which are really, really important. So that's an important point to raise. We had some discussions about the term sustainability on the drive here too. So to connect with this dimension of social justice has been really important within a broader ecological movement too.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the very exciting ideas for me that came out from this meeting that we just had some days ago. Well, more than a meeting, it was just a gathering where we came together and had conversations around potentials and possibilities. And for example, one of the ideas that's emerging is the possibility of designing some sort of learning journey, so that if you as a learner would like to visit several of these Ecoversities around the world, you could either sort of arrange your own path and spend the time you want in each one, but then that whichever of the organizations that want to participate in the learning journey idea could say, well, I can offer this maybe from 2 weeks to 3 months to 6 months, but something that could be feasible for somebody to come for a while and then just jump to other organizations. And maybe, we don't know, this is a very emergent idea, but it's very exciting, at least for me, the possibility of having more or less a path, that so we can speak between organizations and have help people make some sense of a possible path that could take 6 months or 2 years or whatever the learner wants, and maybe even or shorter. But I think this is very exciting. The possibility that you don't have to sort of have a learning experience in a single place, but that you can experience different places. Each place obviously has a core that is different from the other, and in a different country, maybe even in a different language. So I think this would be a fantastic possibility in terms of global schooling, and what could that mean in the future.
I have to say, this really excites me because I'm not sure if you know, but I work with the adolescents that would be ideal to go into all of your programs after, if they decide that they want a path into a university. And most of the adolescents that we work with, when we create our temporary learning communities, don't really feel that there is an option for university. It's either go to university or not. So there's no other kind of option. So it really, from a personal perspective, in my own personal work, it excites me, and I need to know more about this network, and really need to make sure that the adolescents that come through our programs know about your program. So please go. Don't let me interrupt you anymore. I just want you to just feel the excitement bubbling inside of me, because I'm just so thrilled. Go on.
I want to say something. So right now I left Romania nine months ago. I'm writing a book. I'm traveling to meet all kinds of alternative universities. And my task in these travels is to try to see the patterns, try to see what each university has developed and what are the things that are somehow common, and try to figure out what is the possible connection between them on a systemic level. Of course, I don't have an answer yet, but I think what we're holding, what came out of the Ecoversity meeting, is that we are all holding this question: how can we weave together these diverse places in respect for the diversity, but how can we weave them together in a global system that can be used used by young people in their learning journeys? So we would have a sort of a meta university, a global university, as an experience. So you could have, in your coming of age, you could just go around the world in very different places and pick up the energy and the knowledge and the wisdom from each place, and then you would start your journey, like a productive journey into the world, with this global perspective and with this bag of wisdom. One more thing to add, please, Manish.
Well, we have been dealing with internet connection problems, and I'm just going to cross my fingers that this group, the panel, joins us, and my internet also, yeah, my internet is also a little wonky. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. And we are back. If you're watching us live, you will have noticed that we did have an internet dropout, but it's all okay. We're just going to move through it. We just overcome challenges, don't we? So I'm going to hand the floor back over to my fabulous panel.
So you were saying something? I can, okay, go back. So you go ahead.
No, I can add some experience in our meeting. Just I'm recovering some informations, personal experience. My best experience is about the intention to disrupt the conventional education, but just breaking some false beliefs and disrupting the system. I think is the best intention, and breaking some frontiers in our mind, in our world. And just the question I can take big question. How can we do? It's only I'm thinking, feeling. How can we do to support the conventional education to change? We have a solution and all, and in the parallel place, how can we create to innovate together new projects? And for me, that is the key in this meeting.
I want to add something to that. Our talks also revolve around the idea that the architecture of the university system we have, it's pretty much the same all over the world, the mainstream system, and it's an architecture that stays at the core of the problems we face as humanity. So that's where the mental models are being passed on. So we have now 2 billion people under 20. And if part of them go through the classic university system, they will, the mental models will be reinforced. So my book is about how we can break free from that, from the mental models spread around by the university system we have. And just to give an example, it's about how the universities see knowledge. So they have, in my view, they have a narrow way of seeing knowledge, only academic knowledge, knowledge that can be generalized. And then this knowledge is fragmented. So you only get to go to that class, to that class, to that class. But when do you get the chance to synthesize everything? To synthesize what you know about the world, what you know about yourself, what you know about your community, into things that you can put in action. So there's a lot of analytical thinking, fragmenting of knowledge, but very little synthesis of it. This is one of the examples possible. But the question we hold is, how can we break free from those mental models?
If I want to just add one thing around fragmentation, it's the fragmentation of, that you talked about, but it's also the fragmentation of the devaluing other ways of knowing and indigenous ways of knowing. And one thing that we found in Ecoversities and meeting here as well was that how wonderful it is to find spaces where we can really come to begin to know more deeply other ways of knowing that have come from other traditions of knowledge, right? So this is what we're doing here as well. We're visiting this place. We're going to find out more about how they teach, about their knowledge system, about their pedagogies. So one thing that's really exciting is, well, how can we have this, what's sometimes called intercultural learning? The deep learning of other ways of being in the world, other ways of knowing, and how can we have this ecology of knowledges so that these things can complement each other and not have one just a dominant way of knowing, a monocultural way of knowing, or mono knowing that kind of overshadows everything else and denigrates everything else. Because these other ways of knowing have sustained humanity for thousands of years in this planet, in a very different relationship with their environment. So how can we really connect more deeply with the knowledge holders and with the places that are regenerating these ways of knowing in their communities, so that we can all enrich ourselves as well.
Yeah, on that point, I think I would like to share a little bit of this visiting, this learning journey that we're doing right now. So we're taking 10 days to visit 3 alternative universities in Mexico that what they have in common is that they have been co-designed and generated in peasant Indian communities and that are designing a way of communal learning that is more pertinent, more adequate for the context of their reality, and they're exactly doing what Udi is saying in terms of enriching the ways of learning of the community and exploring also other ways of learning. So in a sense, they're all deeply intercultural because they are in an intercultural context themselves. One of them is Genaro's university, which, as he said, is we would translate it something. We did it this morning, right? Ayuk, Intercultural Institute for Higher Education, right? And Ayuk was formed, Genaro can speak a little bit more about it, but it's made of 10 different Indian communities in Oaxaca, and right now we're in Puebla and we're visiting a university in some Nahuatl communities, and in some days we'll go to another university also in Oaxaca, more in the Zapotec area. So it's 3, I think these are 3 very unique universities in Mexico, with no doubt, but I also think in the world. So we're all very excited to take these 10 days to come and visit each of these 3 places and do our own little tiny learning 10-day journey and meet with the designers, the teachers, the students, see some projects and try to enrich our own projects with this very inspiring ideas that are happening in these mountains, in this place.
Now I have a question for you. Since you are exploring these universities in Mexico that geared towards indigenous, because I know the region is really geared towards indigenous knowledge, indigenous rights, all of the cultural learnings that are part of this area. It's very, very strong in this area. You're talking about visiting these universities and you're looking at them from the outside going in. If we shift that perspective a little bit and take it from the inside out and look at it from the perspective of the student, can you define who these students are and the values that they're receiving from this sort of education? And also then how that expands on a greater scope throughout the Ecoversities network.
Yeah,
Who are the students?
the intention is to create the relation, more connection with experiences, and to share with the students and the authorities, communal authorities. They know the place, they have some knowledge, they have experiences. And just I think the barrier for us, because we have academic background, we don't work in the liberty. We have that chain. And just I think the intention is to break, not together that frontier, and just the intention for to visit these experiences is to create a different level in the communal knowledge, and the intention for to visit our experience is the same. The feedback from these friends and increasing this struggle, because it's very common to find the strict rules from the government. Every time we receive a negative impression, and I think that is the question. And in the world, the alternative education is a bad process, is a anarchy process, and yeah, but the intention, I think, is very specific. We need to define, we need to figure out regional problems and to create a good live together in this world. And yeah, we believe in the common knowledge.
Which knowledge?
Common.
Common
Or
knowledge.
common knowledge.
Communal.
Comunalidad. Comunalidad. Comunalidad.
Yeah.
Are you saying that it's both global and local? You're serving both the global and local needs at the same time through disseminating this kind of indigenous knowledge, if you will.
The learner is local, or what's the connection also with larger Mexico and the world?
Yeah, I think the first connection is to find some solutions about the global problems. We have some solutions, but those not its complete. We need the support from many organizations, from many initiatives. And just I think this is the opportunity to create more alliances, more to find more efforts, because really I think the alternative process sometimes is killed, not success, not it's easier. I think our effort just look for that position to create more relationship, and we need to think in a small scale, but just using the global efforts.
And I think it's very important, the way I also see it, is that many of these indigenous communities are also rebelling towards an educational system, at least in Mexico, but I think this is quite common, where when peasants go to school or to university, the whole educational system is thought for them to move out of their rural areas. So it's like you're educated, you went to university, you're not going to go back to being a peasant. You know, there's this idea, this meme that once you study, it's, for you to go to the city. And what they're saying is no. We like our home, and we know that we can make it better. So let's generate educational models that help us make our dreams come true in our place, and not an educational model that's designed for young people to think that this is not a nice place to live. Mm-hmm. And I think they're being very successful with this, and this is quite inspiring, I think.
I think, Lainey, I was going to share that two things. One, Traian was talking about kind of convergences and commonalities, which is quite exciting, and sometimes when you feel alone, quite reassuring to know that there are other projects out there. But for me, one of the other things that was very exciting is the divergence. Not only the convergence, the divergence, and lots of interesting choices that different projects are taking around very fundamental things, whether to use degrees or not use degrees, to think about the economics of how to support their systems. So all of these things are, lots and lots of different areas which people have thought in very different ways. And I really appreciate the energy of it's not like trying to say my approach is better than yours, but actually really understanding the nuance and the subtleties of different choices and supporting each other to, in that mirroring. And I found I've gotten to a lot more deeper reflection, hearing about different ways that people are working on their projects. So that's been very powerful for me. And very specifically, one thing that we talked about in the meeting was the idea. So I think, as Udi was saying, the eco is also about rethinking and reimagining the economics that are driving the planet, the whole understanding of economics and things. And so one level, we are all somehow connected and implicated into the money system and the role that it plays, global financial system and things. But I think one of the really exciting things is a commitment to work on a different kind of understanding of economics and livelihood that can, give real choices. So we don't want models where people, end up going through this, getting all excited and saying, oh shit, I have to go back and be a corporate slave again, because I don't have a different community and a different way of, imagining how to take care of my needs and my community's needs. So one of the things we talked about was this whole idea that, how higher education has made learning into a big business and a commodity, learning as a commodity. So we talked about actually creating an alternative currency, the possibility where people from all over the world could share that currency, alternative form of currency, to access each other's learning projects and to go when you go. So it's not just as Victoria was saying that, okay, here's things where you have to go and pay dollars or euros for, but you can also generate and share and host things, and we have a whole different kind of currency to support that, so that to open up more opportunities for people around the planet to be able to access. So we were doing a lot of brainstorming of what that alternative currency might look like and how it could be working across places. So we have new models to just start to think outside of the current financial thinking. So that was really exciting for me also to think about.
Wow, you guys are doing some really big thinking here. I'm so impressed. So you've got the currency, the economy, then an alternative economy as. Let me ask you this. How do you reinforce or support community in all of these efforts? How is that a big part of what you're doing? I understand each individual university has their own approach, but how do you support a bigger community among the participants or learners, and among the alumni, and among the communities that support these universities?
We haven't spoken for a while.
Okay, so Earth University, like many of the universities here, the very approach to learning is very connected, very engaged with local communities. So, for example, I'll give an example. There's one module that I'm very excited about being a part of helping to regenerate is around community learning. So you have students who are coming from all sorts of different parts of the world, from different kinds of communities, and part of the learning is to live with, connect with local rural communities next to the university in Costa Rica, and to together with them see what life is like, learn from them, learn from their knowledge, also share some of the knowledge that they've been learning at the university around different forms of agroecological practice, farming, around energy, around water. So they're also trying to work with local communities to solve some of the very real problems that they're facing. So that's been a really exciting way of how might the various knowledges that they are gaining from the university be very directly applied still whilst they're studying, and then hopefully they're getting practice to then reconnect and trying to apply some of that in the communities where they come from as well. And that happens at various kinds of levels, from first, second years to fourth years. It's a 4-year degree program. So that's just a very concrete way that the university has that as a core mission as well, to really connect and help to support, nurture local communities around the university.
So share. I can share another dimension, which is I mentioned earlier, the idea of community living ourselves, and so part of the, I would say, indoctrination of school is to really create this sense of I all the time. And so part of what we talk about is Swaraj, a shift from me to we. And so living together and really, again, reimagining that, what it means to live together and at the same time have your own uniqueness. And so we actually have thought about community living in three different ways. So one is like how we all relate to conflict. So part of the explorations is how conflict can be a tool for more deeply understanding ourselves and deepening our relationships with each other. And so really, really going deep, because a lot of communities today are not being able to, there's a lot of conflict brewing, even in rural communities there's conflict. So how do we create different containers to hold that conflict, to engage with that, and actually make conflict itself one of the learning opportunities that we engage with, So one is conflict, and second thing is the notion of commons. So for me, like, we use the word community all over the world very loosely, but I think people have to be connected to a sense of commons and a commitment to regenerate their commons, whether it's the land, water, air, social relationships, so many different things. And this commitment to actually really engaging with the commons and renewing the commons continuously, replenishing the commons is a second piece, I think, which we're trying to explore. And the third is, and also, with the commons, seeing the commons as living entities, not as these inert objects, but really engaging with life around us in a very profoundly different way. I was sharing with Victoria in the garden, one of my favorite quotes is a Native American quote, which says, what you people call your natural resources, we call our relatives. And so really seeing commons as a kind of in a deep relational field with us. And the third piece of that, which we're really trying to look at, is the idea of co-creation. And so how do we really enter into, because we need to, I think the kinds of complex challenges we're facing around the world need us to enter in a different field of co-creation and in a different way of also So Nero is going to say something about community, also how they're understanding in their place.
Yeah, about the concept, the community concept. It's a complex concept. Usually we think about the romanticism, but I think currently we have a good discussion about this concept. But for now, I want to share something about the communality. Communality is life in our communities, but communality is like a project, a common project, and I want to take some information about our theme for now. Just is walking together, is sharing information, is sharing the efforts. Because when we work alone, we don't have more energy, and we need to create a good levels, good like steps to reach the intention. And when I think about the communality, we need to think about the mountain. We need to think about the other friends, no? Because usually we think only in ourselves, but not the other friends, other brothers, sisters. In our language we say to key involvement. We need to think about everything, every detail, and this is difficult. Yeah, that is my idea. Not it's easy to practice the concept. Maybe we need to do and to think again, and just crossing, no, concept and action. And then communality is the action, but at the same time, currently is like a perspective. And yeah, very, very simple. I think it's like a new concept, but the old practice and the new generation is working in this concept. At least in Oaxaca, is the concept.
I think what you just said is so beautiful and powerful, because you're tapping into ideas of, well, it's based on First Nation people, indigenous people from around the world. We're here in Peru. We hear these same sort of concepts. And I think what you're talking about is that sort of alternative that the Westerners don't actually get. So there's tremendous value in the approach of community, but in community with the natural resources as well, or in partnership, which is what I believe that you're really talking about. Partnership with others, and partnership with the land, and partnership with the mountains, and partnership with the water, and partnership with all of the ecology, including, I suppose, the economy as well, and what that looks like. It's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to ask this panel one more, well, there's probably a lot more questions, but this question is sort of bubbling up inside of me. I understand that this is an alternative approach. Ecoversities is, again, this network of these alternative ideas to university. If indeed they are alternative, then why is it that many of the programs are based off of the traditional four-year program that traditional universities follow? Why is this time period, and why are you following some of those traditions? You know, what to me they feel, I mean, if you're going to those numbers, those. So we're back, and we've had lots of internet problems, but so I just want to ask the panel, did you hear my last question? I'm not sure if you heard it. Okay, the floor is yours.
So, Victoria.
Well, some of us actually have official degrees. For example, Universidad del Medio Ambiente and Instituto Superior Ayuc, we both give official degrees. So there's, I think what Manish was saying before about diversity is very important. For some learners, not being able to have an official degree is a big obstacle in terms of their possibility for sometimes finance or time or labor-wise, etc. So some of us have explored the possibility of proposing to the formal system a niche of alternative education. So Ayuc and UMA and other universities, also, for example, the peasant indigenous university, which we will get to in like half an hour, which is in Puebla, also has official degrees. And in Mexico, at least, it has been more or less possible for us as small universities to, go to the government and said and propose that it's valuable for them to have some niches of exploration of other ways of learning, and they've we've reached a middle point where this is possible, and especially for higher education in Mexico, there's quite a bit of liberty. Of course, you have to hand in grades, and at the end of the day, so you have to figure creatively what does that mean inside each of the systems. And it's at least for us, I can say that it has been a fun challenge, because it has to do with the interweaving or knitting with the system, and how can you also create change, hand in hand with or near to the system, and just make explicit some differences, not conceptually, but because you're living them. For example, having two grading systems that are different, like yours, and then how that translates into the other, and what does that mean for the learners. And I, at least in my experience, this has possibilitated incredible conversations around the system, changing the system, what the system is, etc. So I don't know, Hannah, if you want to...
I can talk about very short about our experience. We used some concepts from the conventional roles. For example, university is a big concept from the conventional work, but it's like a marketing. We use that concept because I think the indigenous movement have a big stake. And usually when we say it's indigenous, it's bad project. Not is the project don't have a success, and all is bad. No, it's the association, and just for that reason we put some concepts. For example, we have some orientation, administration, and sustainable development. Really, we know not this is the best concept for us, but maybe for some younger people want to hear that concept. But the challenge is, how can we organize the university or the space? And just we took some experiences from the community. We have assembly with the students. We have for each first Monday a common work for each month, and we have special weeks to live with the farmers, because the farm is the best place to learn. Is our belief, and I think very recently we started some discussions about what is the real possibility to create intercultural relationship when we have inequity, nothing is equal. And just for that reason we started the discussion with the students and with the farmers, with the community. But we use the conventional time, but we are changing every time. We are changing and modifying the conventional time. I think that is the learn for us.
Do you want to say something?
Yeah. We have two projects. One of them uses the conventional 4-year time. We just started that project. It's called Entrepreneurship Academy. And it's, I totally share the vision of UMA in doing that. So we started that because we wanted to have the degree that the students need. But in the other project, in Alternative University, we don't have that, because students sign up each year. So you sign up for a year, and then if you need more of it, you sign up for another year and for another year. But actually, not having a degree gives you no instrument to keep any kind of structure. So it's totally unstructured. They have access to an environment, and the time is defined by themselves along the way. So they figure out after a month, they figure out if they want to stay for another one. And some of them don't. So I think you can keep a structure with the degree, and usually it's associated with the degree. Otherwise, if you don't have a degree, then the structure is on the student side, and they decide what to do with it.
Yeah, we kind of have I think somewhere in between what Brian was talking about. So we call it it's a 2-year process, but we think of it as a 2-year initiation into a lot wider community of seekers. So it's a 2-year process, and people you actually don't need any degree or certificate to join Swaraj, and we don't give any degrees or certificates. So it gives us a lot of freedom. And one of the most important areas of where that freedom is, and we can select all kinds of people as mentors. So we have, it doesn't have to be. I think one of the concerns always is if somebody who is authorized by the system to be a mentor or not. So we have, people have made children their mentors. They made silence their mentors. They've made indigenous people, fishermen their mentors. They've made grandmothers their mentors. And so it actually, I think, is very important because we start to then perceive again there's an abundance of learning possibilities around us all the time once we can start to move into that. And the other thing, I think what we've tried to do is build a parallel system, which we call a campaign called Healing Ourselves from the Diploma Disease. And so we have hundreds and hundreds of organizations we are engaging who are saying that, yeah, we understand that the degrees and diplomas don't actually tell us anything about the person, and actually probably restrict a lot of other people who might have lots of amazing things to share with our organizations from coming in. So it's a whole process of actually getting them to strip away their requirements for degrees and diplomas and start to think of other ways of recruiting, of assessing, of giving feedback, and all of those things. So I think that is also very exciting thing for us.
Something I would like to add is, for example, I think in both in Nayuk, in UMA, in UCI, in all these, UCI is the university we're visiting now, where we do have official degrees, we also have the same exact procedure for people that do not have a previous degree, for example, and that normally could not go into formal universities, so they can come to ours. Of course, they don't get an official degree afterwards, but they do exactly the same. So we combine the groups that have, people getting a degree and people not getting a degree, and they're both walking together through the same path. And something that we found valuable in Mexico is that effectively, I just thought about this while Manish was speaking, if you don't have an official degree, you can't teach in official universities. And we think it's very important. We would love that more people that have had the experience of another way of learning to go to the to also be part of the traditional, conventional. This is super important because we cannot be in a little bubble here. We of course we passionately believe that this is a much efficient and more significant way of learning. But and we think any human would love it, but then we also have to go into the spaces, go there ourselves and be able to share these different ways of teaching, and many of us have done that, just being able to teach, just as Udi is right now teaching in Earth, who also gives degrees and has a 4-year program, etc. So we also want our students to be able to be that kind of change maker. So this is one position in the diversity of different options. And there's, of course, pros and cons of everything. But what is incredible is that the diversity is possible. So we don't think there's the way of doing it, or that it should be that way, or it should be, this way. But it's lovely that we can learn from different experiences.
Thank you. That's a beautiful answer, and I'm really, really happy to hear about all the diversity. Can you tell us how big your network is now?
Udi?
There's like
We
at
don't
least
know.
50 different projects around the world right now, which are part of that. And there are many more that we don't know about. So hopefully being on this show will invite many more to connect with us and to be part of this larger movement. Yeah.
Well, I know that your time is limited, and we've been riddled with internet problems. But I want to give you, and I know that you have a schedule, and you're off to go visit one of these beautiful universities to gather more inspiration. Please share with us your closing thoughts and whatever you'd like to leave with the viewers of this show. Take as much time as you'd like, but I also want to be respectful of your time. So please share with us your closing thoughts. And also, I wanted to ask you a little bit about compassion in learning. So if you can kind of combine that a little bit too, that would be great.
Closing thoughts and around compassion again. Anybody want to kick this off?
Well, as a closing thought, this has been a lot of fun, to be in the middle of the Mexican mountains in a little village, coming into a courtyard, connecting with you in Peru, and your friend in Holland doing the sound and technical part, and us here, from Costa Rica, India, Romania, Oaxaca, and Central Mexico. So this feels like a science fiction novel. So this is a lot of fun, and it's great that we can do this and that we can learn in this way, and that we can share from far away. I don't know, it's always very, very, very inspiring. And in terms of compassion, I think that in my view, one of the ways that one connects in a more deeper way with oneself, because self-compassion is very, very important, and we, at least in Western urban cultures, tend to live in continuously make us feel inappropriate or not sufficient, and make the task and the challenge of self-compassion quite difficult. So when you are in a process of learning where you're conscious of your own process of learning and your own way of learning, I think it's a very important ingredient of being able to develop self-compassion.
Final thoughts.
For me, just our meeting created good energy for everybody, and this is the first time when we find this common space. But about the compassion, I think we need to train our soul, our spirit, because for the pressure, for the time, for the space, for everything, sometimes we forget the capability to create a good energy, a good project, and to share, and to accept the humility. We don't have a big intelligence. We need only to share the needs. The farmers needs our support. The students needs our support. The plants, everything, and that is the reason we don't have a big brain. We need.
So I wanted to thank everybody who has tuned in and watched so far. It's been an incredibly inspirational conversation. I do apologize, though, about the internet obstacles that we've had to overcome during this broadcast. Unfortunately, we didn't get to hear from three of the panelists with their closing remarks, but I hope to invite everybody from that panel back on to another show. I am so incredibly inspired about the vision of what they're doing at Ecoversities, and I really believe it's time for a change a true moving forward in this movement of alternative education within the university realm. So kudos, and I cannot wait to see what happens in the future. And I do know that the group over at Ecoversities are interested in connecting with those that have projects that would be a good fit for their network. So please visit the show notes page for contact information for any of our panelists. And if you have an organization that would fit into their vision, please do contact them. I think this is a grassroots effort, and we're all responsible for creating the change in the world that we want to see. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you to our fabulous panel. Thank you to Mel and Biggie over at the Conscious Consumer Network. As always, we have such an incredible sense of gratitude for the work that you do and continue to do, and the platform that you continue to provide for us to have these conversations. And thank you, Nina, my beautiful, beautiful producer that put together this panel and works tirelessly to continue to put together these really fascinating and interesting conversations. So whatever you do, wherever you are, continue to always do it for the love of learning.
Thank you for tuning into CCN. This unique network is dedicated to free and independent media. CCN was created with the belief that information is the common heritage of all beings, which is why our live stream high-definition broadcast is easily accessible and free to view. If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Having produced over 1,000 shows in 2015, which are all archived on YouTube, we look forward to bringing you more groundbreaking, cutting-edge information in 2016. For more information on what is on, please check out our broadcast guide for weekly updates. CCN broadcasts in multiple languages and features some key voices of our challenging times who are all in pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world. CCN belongs to you, the people, and it is up to you all to keep this network on the air. Please contribute to the Network Support Fund or visit the CCN shop. We thank you all for supporting free and independent media. Thank you for tuning into CCN. This unique network is dedicated to free and independent media. CCN was created with the belief that information is the common heritage of all beings, which is why our live stream high-definition broadcast is easily accessible and free to view. If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Having produced over 1,000 shows in 2015, which are all archived on YouTube, we look forward to bringing you more groundbreaking, cutting-edge information in 2016. For more information on what is on, please check out our broadcast guide for weekly updates. CCN broadcasts in multiple languages and features some key voices of our challenging times who are all in pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world. CCN belongs to you, the people, and it is up to you all to keep this network on the air. Please contribute to the Network Support Fund or visit the CCN shop. We thank you all for supporting free and independent media.